Memory loss isn't caused by aging. Watch out for this instead. Have you ever walked into the kitchen, opened the refrigerator, and just stood there? You knew you came in for a reason, but it was gone. Vanished. Like someone hit the delete button. Or maybe you ran into an old friend at the grocery store, someone you've known for 20 years and you could not for the life of you remember their name. You just smiled and nodded and hoped they didn't notice. Most people chalk that up to getting older. It happens to everyone, they say. That's just what aging does. But here's what I need you to hear today, and I want you to really sit with this. The damage that leads to serious memory loss can begin 10, even 20 years before you ever notice a single symptom. By the time most people get a diagnosis, the process has been quietly running in the background for decades. I'm Dr. Leon, and in this video, I'm going to show you what's actually happening inside your brain, and more importantly, what you can do about it starting right now. Stay with me, because what I'm about to share could genuinely change the trajectory of your brain health for the next decade. Here's something the conventional medical system rarely talks about, and it frustrates me every time I think about it. Most doctors only begin investigating cognitive decline when a patient starts showing obvious symptoms, forgetting appointments, getting confused, repeating themselves in conversation. By that point, the process has already been progressing for years, sometimes silently, sometimes with signs so subtle nobody connected the dots. The reason this matters so much for people over 50 is that our brains become significantly more vulnerable to energy shortfalls as we age. The brain is the most energy-hungry organ in your body. It makes up only about 2% of your body weight, but it consumes roughly 20% of everything you eat. When that energy supply gets disrupted even slightly, the effects ripple outward in ways that don't always look like a brain problem at first. And the hidden driver behind much of this? It's not stress, it's not genetics. It's something sitting on your plate 3 times a day. Let me introduce you to Margaret. She's 62, recently retired, sharp as a tack her whole career. Last year, she started noticing she needed a little more time to find the right word in conversation. Nothing alarming, just slower. What Margaret doesn't know, what almost no one in her position knows, is that she's likely somewhere in stage 2 of a 4-stage process that started before she ever noticed anything at all. Here's how it works. In the very first stage, your brain's energy output quietly begins to drop. Your memory is still intact. You might feel a bit more tired than usual, but nothing you'd call a symptom. In stage 2, something more significant happens. Certain protein deposits start accumulating in the brain and don't get cleared out properly, and your brain's primary memory center, think of it as your internal filing system, starts to shrink ever so slightly. And here's the critical part. Your memory still feels fine. It's stage 3 where people start noticing things, trouble retrieving names, slower learning, a subtle fog. And this can begin as early as your 30s or 40s. By stage 4, the shift is dramatic. Your family often notices your memory problems before you do. That's when most people finally get diagnosed. But here's what's maddening about that. The standard tests doctors run aren't designed to catch this early. They're built to confirm symptoms that already exist, so if you're not yet symptomatic, you're likely told everything looks fine while the process continues. Before we go further, I want to give you something actionable right now. Ask yourself these 3 questions and be honest. First, do you need to eat every 2 to 3 hours to avoid feeling irritable or mentally foggy? That craving, that urgency to eat, it's a classic signal that your blood sugar is swinging up and down. Most people think it's just hunger. It's not. Second, do you wake up between 2 and 3 in the morning for no obvious reason? A lot of people blame stress or a full bladder. But this pattern, especially if it happens regularly, is often a blood sugar issue, not a sleep issue. Third, after a meal heavy in bread, pasta, or rice, do you feel sluggish or need to lie down? That mental heaviness after eating isn't your body digesting. It's your brain struggling to manage a glucose surge. If even one of those resonated with you, keep watching. Because what comes next is the piece most people never hear. Here's what's actually happening inside your body when blood sugar runs high for years. Your bloodstream fills with glucose, and your body responds by flooding the system with insulin to deal with it. Do this over and over again, and your cells, including your brain cells, start ignoring the insulin. They become resistant to it. Now here's the part that sounds almost impossible but is completely documented in research. Even though there's plenty of glucose in the blood, the brain can't use it. The cells are essentially locked out. Researchers have actually started calling this condition type 3 diabetes, a diabetes of the brain. Your neurons are starving, not because the food isn't there, but because the door has been slammed shut. And the longer that continues, the more the brain struggles to maintain itself. Now, here's where it gets even more urgent, and most people never hear this part. When your blood sugar is chronically high and insulin is constantly elevated, your body begins flushing out a specific nutrient through your urine at an alarming rate 16 to 24 times faster than normal. This nutrient is vitamin B1. Think about that. Every time you eat a meal heavy in refined sugar or starch, your body is burning through its B1 reserves at a rate that most diets can never replenish. And processed grains, white bread, white rice, commercial cereals have already had over 85% of their natural B1 stripped out during manufacturing. So you're eating foods that deplete B1, foods that come with almost no B1 to begin with, and your body is excreting what little remains at an accelerated rate. The result is a slow, quiet, devastating deficiency that most people will never be tested for. Here's the simplest way I can explain what vitamin B1 does for your brain. Imagine your brain is a high-performance engine. The fuel tank is full, there's plenty of glucose available. But there's a faulty spark plug. Without that spark, the fuel just sits there. Nothing fires. The engine stalls. Vitamin B1 is that spark plug. Without it, your brain cannot properly convert glucose into usable energy, even when glucose is present. The power generators inside your brain cells have a specific gateway that B1 is responsible for activating. Without B1, that gateway stays locked, and when those generators can't do their job, the brain shifts to a much less efficient backup system. This backup produces a waste product that reduces oxygen flow and creates additional cellular stress. Researchers studying Alzheimer's brains have found unusually high levels of this waste product. That's not a coincidence. Now, I've been talking about a specific form of B1 called benfotiamine for years, long before it was getting the attention it deserves. Benfotiamine is a fat-soluble form of vitamin B1, which means it penetrates tissue far more effectively than regular thiamine. It gets into the nervous system, into the brain, in a way that standard B1 supplements struggle to match. And right now, the National Institute on Aging is running a major Phase 2 clinical trial on benfotiamine, specifically for Alzheimer's prevention across 50 different research sites. This is mainstream science finally catching up to what the evidence has been suggesting for years. But here's what I need you to understand. Benfotiamine is not a shortcut. If you're still eating the foods that drain B1 daily, supplementing is like bailing water out of a sinking boat without plugging the hole first. So what does a practical plan actually look like? The first and most important step, and I cannot overstate this, is reducing refined sugars and processed carbohydrates. White bread, white rice, packaged snacks, sodas, pastries, anything with added sugar. This is non-negotiable because without this step, everything else is working against itself. The best pairing is benfotiamine combined with a lower carbohydrate diet, because that approach both reduces B1 depletion and helps restore your brain's ability to use energy properly. If you want to accelerate results, adding intermittent fasting to that combination is one of the most evidence-supported strategies available. For dosing, follow the label on whichever benfotiamine product you choose, and spread it across the day in smaller amounts rather than taking it all at once. That keeps a steadier level in your tissues, which is what you want for nervous system support. And if you're on any medications or managing a health condition, loop in your doctor before starting. Here's the hopeful truth I want to leave you with today. Your brain has a remarkable capacity to recover, especially in the earlier stages. The neurological system is more resilient than we once believed. And when you remove the stressors and supply what's been missing, real improvement is possible. But that window doesn't stay open forever. The longer the energy deficit continues, the harder it becomes to reverse. This isn't meant to scare you, it's meant to move you, because the best time to act was 10 years ago. The second best time is right now. If you want to protect your memory and your independence over the next 10 years, what I've shared today is your starting point. A cleaner diet, consistent benfotiamine, and paying attention to those 3 warning signs we talked about. If this video gave you something useful, hit like and subscribe. It genuinely helps this channel reach the people who need this information most. And the next video on the blood sugar and brain connection is right there waiting for you. Don't wait on this one.